Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I just wanted to hop on and talk to you about a subject that is quite important and I think a lot of people aren't aware of, and that is a type of empath that you might have come across and not fully understood what was happening. Um, there's a particular subtype that I call dark empaths, and that's what I want to talk about today. Because they're not what you might expect, and I think some people would be surprised that they even exist. I know that a lot of people who watch this channel and this kind of video are actually empaths themselves. So if you're out there watching and you're an empath, this probably isn't a description of you. So don't worry, this certainly isn't all empaths. This is probably a minority. When you're an empath, you can sense other people's emotions to the point where you may actually absorb them. You may be one of those people who's a bit of a sponge when you're around other people, and you find it difficult to be around people who are really upset, or you might find it difficult to work out where your feelings end and the other person's feelings begin, or you may actually take them away with you and end up carrying a lot for a lot of people. And being an empath, it does bring extra challenges to your life, that's for sure. We have to clear our energy. We have to shield our energy on a regular basis. Speaking as an empath myself, I get it. I know what it's like. And sometimes we actually have to take time out from social situations so we don't get overloaded just by all of the feelings, like all the feels that it can get really too much. So, as a general rule, empaths make really good friends. Okay, they're the thoughtful friends. They're the ones who are really sensitive to our needs, who are really good at buying gifts. They anticipate what you want, how you feel. They're right there with you when you've just broken up with your boyfriend. They're the ones that really get you on a deep level. And they are wonderful until we burn out. Okay, empaths can seem a bit flaky as friends sometimes, or as colleagues, because we suffer from empathic burnout. Sometimes we take on too much without perhaps meaning to, and you know, sometimes you have to take some time out just because there's so much emotion to deal with from other people. Sometimes we have to take a break. Sometimes we might actually have a breakdown. Empaths are very, very sensitive, so it can be something that happens to us. Being an empath, definitely not an easy path, all right, but they are people who generally care about others, who try to help other people. But there is another type of empath that we don't normally talk about, and that's the type I want to talk about today. So that's the dark empath, or as I call them, the dark empath. So on the face of it, they actually seem very similar to other empaths because they're very empathic. They sense other people's emotions, and other empaths will probably be drawn to them as well because they kind of see a kindred spirit or somebody who gets me, who understands what it's like, sensing other people's emotions, being so sensitive, being so aware of everything going on. If you're an empath, you might see yourself, a lot of yourself in a dark empath when you meet them. But the difference is they seem a little bit different to us. They kind of seem to have it all together. That was certainly my sense when I've met dark empaths. They seem to be more in control of their abilities. And you might sense that when you first meet them. And they can be absolutely fascinating, if you're highly empathic or a spiritually sensitive person, that's a very, very interesting person to meet. But there's something missing, and that is true empathy for others. Dark empaths do not have true empathy for others. They're empaths. They can sense other people's emotions, but they don't care. Okay, they don't care, or they don't care as much as they should do. So yeah, that's what is lacking with the dark empaths, and that's why I call them dark, for want of a better word, empaths. Now, these people can actually be really good psychics or mediums, and I've met one or two who were very gifted. So you expect them to also be very sympathetic, very compassionate, but they're not. They're just not. Um, and it can be a very confusing experience because they have all of the skills that you associate with someone who's very sensitive and kind and compassionate and really understanding because they get people, but they're lacking that kindness element. It just isn't there. The compassion for others isn't there. They use their abilities to manipulate other people, or they use that knowledge to get one up on people, or to make people feel that they owe them things. They give to get. They're not selfless people. So what I'm referring to here is a very specific personality type. It's not empath burnout, which you do see sometimes with just regular empaths. It's a phenomenon I call it empathic burnout. Basically where you reach a point that you've absorbed so much of other people's stuff, experienced so much of other people's stuff that you literally burn out. You can't take it anymore. You have to have a break. You're exhausted. You kind of shut down a bit emotionally, and your empathic ability can seem to literally shut off, and you have to shut people out for a while. That's not what I meant. That's a defense mechanism when empaths get into a really, really bad state. And hopefully we shouldn't allow ourselves to get there. We should be doing the work we need to ground our energy, shield our energy, and, detach from other people's emotions, and clear our energy when we need to. Yeah, but when you do get like that, you do need some time alone, but it can make you seem very heartless when you have to literally switch off from everyone. But that is not what I'm talking about. That is not what a dark empath is. A dark empath is not someone who's taken on too much stuff and needs a break. It's someone who's just like that all the time. The ones I met were very high in narcissistic traits, so it's something that I think could go along with psychopathic, narcissistic, sociopathic types of personalities who are kind of don't care about other people's emotions. It's difficult because normally in psychology they refer to that as having empathy for others. And that's where the confusion comes in, because these people, they're empaths. They can sense your emotions. Dark empaths can definitely sense your emotions. They know what's going on. They can feel it. They just don't care. That's the difference. They just don't care. They're very, very sensitive to your emotions, but they don't really care if it's hurting you. And they can very much take advantage of that. So they can be very, very dangerous people, very self-serving, very self-centered. And once you get past all the show, because they're very often very charismatic, you find that they're actually very, very dark people, very, very selfish, and not very nice to be around at all. And I think it's really good to remember that just because somebody is part of the spiritual community, because some of these people are, they might be members of various different spiritual communities, or systems of belief, they can appear to be very good at helping people. They might be very gifted at healing, at doing readings, psychic readings. They might be a really gifted medium. They might be able to do readings or give sessions that give people a lot of peace, make them feel wonderful, but they're not doing it because they care. All right. And this is the kicker, because most of us do it because we genuinely care about people. These people don't. They do it to make a name for themselves, for fame, for money, for for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, and they can kind of go under the radar, except that when you meet them, you might notice that just something feels off. You just can't quite put your finger on it. But if they start to be very manipulative or take advantage of you, then you might be dealing with a dark empath. So yeah, caution is warranted. Um, and the thing that's really interesting is that regular empaths can very often be the victims of dark empaths. All right, so watch out for them, because you are like easy meat to them. That they will recognize another sensitive soul who can feel, has all the awareness of other people's feelings, and it can be wonderful at first because you think, wow, this person really understands me. And I know there's a lot of parallels in what I'm describing here in the first stages of a narcissistic relationship when there's love bombing going on, because the two can definitely exist together. You can definitely be a narcissist or have narcissistic personality disorder and be a dark empath, and that's a very dangerous combo. And there is a reason for that as well, because very often empathic ability comes from a history of trauma in childhood, early childhood, but that's a whole other subject together. But that's the thing. I mean, this type of empath does not reciprocate in the same ways, and instead will drain you instead of building you up. Most empaths are real builders. They make people feel really good when they're around them, and they take on the bad stuff. Dark empaths don't do that, or they only do it when it serves, or they think they're going to get something out of that situation, or they feel I'll do this thing, then that person will owe me. Yeah, so really look out for that type of people, because they do walk among us and they definitely exist in the spiritual community. And they can be very charismatic. Then they can appear to be your best friend at first, but they can attach themselves to you and bleed you dry like an emotional vampire if you're not careful. So, because we are in 2022, this is a year very much where we're looking at polarities. Number 2 is all about polarity. It's about opposites. It's about understanding opposites. Sometimes those opposites will be in conflict with each other. Sometimes they will harmonize, and that's where we find the balance in the middle, where the opposites can work together, or they can find middle ground. And the dark empath is, I suppose, what I would consider the polarity to the normal empath or the light empath, if you like. It's a different type of counterpart. Normally you might think, well, the opposite of an empath is someone who can't feel anything. But is it though? Is it? There's different opposites for each thing. I think in some ways, I think the dark empath is a better counterpart to the regular empath than someone who literally can't feel anything at all. And I think that's something we might be exploring this year. So if you're an empath, you might actually encounter a dark empath this year. You may have found one on your path. They might already be in your life. There may already be one or more dark empaths in your life right now. And I think that this year is the year that we're going to do the healing on the harm that may have been caused by this sort of person. These dark empaths can also teach other empaths some good lessons too. I did put that in my notes because it's not all bad when you encounter a dark empath. Yes, they can be very selfish. Yes, they can drain you, take advantage of you. But at the same time, there is a lesson in every single situation. And the lesson with a dark empath is that actually they know how to do some things quite well that regular empaths don't. Dark empaths know how to put themselves first. Most of us don't know how to do that. We're not very good at putting our needs before others because we feel everyone else's stuff so keenly, so deeply. We want to help and heal everyone else because it's awful. Dark empaths don't feel that same compulsion. And they are really good at putting themselves first. So while we may not like them, they can teach us to be in more balance in ourselves, even if the lessons aren't very pleasant ones to experience when they're happening. But hey, every day is a school day. Particularly this year, it's going to be an interesting one. And it is very much about emotions and extremes of emotion and polarities there. But this is actually part of what my guides have called the collective self-healing event, which is currently taking place on planet Earth. Now, this is on many, many levels, not just the physical level. There's a massive self-healing event going on right now. You might have been feeling it this past week. A lot of people have been feeling strange. I mentioned about some people having symptoms of third eye upgrades right now. There's a lot of healing going on within us. And what's happening is it's readying us for the energies of the age of Aquarius, which are getting stronger every single year. So we're being challenged to actually take personal responsibility for our healing on every level. So physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, every level you can think of. We are being challenged to heal, to take responsibility for that healing and not just say, oh yeah, I'll let someone else do it for me. No, that is not the message this year. This year we are responsible for ourselves, and the energy of the age of Aquarius requires us to take full responsibility anyway. So it's just teaching us how to exist within that energy and how to prepare ourselves for it. Because we all have a lot of healing to do on many, many levels from different lifetimes, from this lifetime. Every single one of us, without exception, has healing to do. And we will all do that in our own ways, whether it's actual physical healing we have to do, whether it's, going to have energy healing, Reiki, spiritual healing, we're exploring herbalism, aromatherapy, whatever it is. We will all do it in our own way, but don't put it off. The time is now to do your healing. So, have you met a dark empath? Now it's your turn. I'd really like to know. Is there somebody that you believe is a dark empath that you've met? Or maybe now you've heard that, it clicks in your mind and you think, oh, well, that explains a lot about that person. I'd really love to hear your stories. So if you'd like to, please do leave me a comment below. And remember to subscribe to the channel. I'd be most grateful if you would please do that. Leave me a like and I will see you soon.